Hello and welcome to today's webinar, From Outdated to Innovative, CapMetro's Journey to Transform ADA Paratransit, presented by Spare. I'm Alex Roman, Executive Editor for Metro Magazine, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. I encourage you to ask questions during the webinar at any point. We'll try to address them all. However, if we do not get to yours, you'll be contacted by email with a response after the event. I'm joined today by our speakers, Chad Ballentine, VP Demand Response and Innovative Mobility at Austin, Texas's CapMetro, and Quinn Kleiman, VP Customers at Spare. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me. If you want to talk a little bit about your roles, and then let's get started.
All right, sounds good. I'll jump in. Hi, I'm Chad Ballentine, again, Vice President of Demand Response here in Austin at CapMetro. So my area of responsibility is our Access ADA Paratransit service, and our pickup on demand circulator service, and then our Metro bike share system here. Access is by far our largest mode within the division and the most complex. So yeah, I'm excited to talk to everybody today about our experience.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Quinn Kleiman. I am the VP of Partner Success at Spare. I've been at Spare for over 5 years now, where I've been lucky to be part of a team that's really been focused on accelerating transit innovation. Over the years, I've also led and been part of dozens of implementations of Spare platform for some of the leading transit agencies in North America, including CapMetro, where I've witnessed firsthand how quickly transit is changing. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to share some of those changes and some of those stories today. Awesome. So let's hop right in. Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much, Alex and Metro Magazine, for providing us with this platform today to share some amazing things about CapMetro's ADA journey and success story. We've crafted this webinar to provide agencies here today with the opportunity to learn firsthand how to modernize outdated ADA paratransit systems. Feel free to use the Q&A to send any questions our way during the live discussion. We also have some time allotted at the end of the presentation for questions as well. As a reminder, this is your opportunity to learn directly from Spare and CapMetro. We are here to answer your most pressing questions about transitioning to a modern ADA paratransit system. We really hope you enjoy it. First off, for those of you not familiar with Spare, we are a provider of demand response mobility software. Our mission is to unlock the power of mobility for everyone and to make every trip not only possible, but also an easy and delightful experience. In pursuit of our mission, we've been extremely lucky to partner with some of the most forward-thinking transit agencies to build and launch services that meet the modern expectations of transit customers. Our incredible set of partners have been instrumental in building Spare platform into the next generation ADA paratransit platform, and we're really excited to be speaking with CapMetro, one of those partners, today. So our solution was really purpose-built to empower agencies to launch the next generation of demand response services. That includes ADA and non-ADA paratransit, as well as microtransit and everything in between. With Spare, you can streamline operations and increase efficiency while providing a leading edge experience for all of your users, from riders and drivers to reservations, dispatch, and eligibility teams. Our integrated suite of products has allowed us to achieve the new benchmark for a modern ADA paratransit rider experience. First, riders can apply for their paratransit eligibility either online or using traditional pen, paper, and even mail. After they've been approved, they can then book their trips in a myriad of different ways, using the rider application, our rider web app, through our AI-powered IVR, or by just calling and speaking to an agent. Next, riders will get service updates and real-time notifications about their trips, either in the app or via text message, voice call, or email. Riders can not only choose what their preferred communication channel is, but also what language they prefer. If they use the app or web app, they can also see their vehicle in the app map and make changes to their trips as is allowed by agency policy. So we'll let you configure that, obviously. When the driver arrives, they are furnished with all of the necessary information about the rider and their trip, including their service level, accessibility needs, any notes that the reservation agent or rider have left on that trip, and payment methods. Drivers can even securely call riders through the driver app from an agency number while never seeing the rider's actual number. And upon completing their trip, riders can then rate their trip in the app and provide feedback, again, if the agency allows this. So our goal is to provide all paratransit customers with an experience that maximizes convenience, real-time communication, reliability, and safety. And we are absolutely honored to have a partner in CapMetro that shares that vision. So to kick things off, we have a new video case study highlighting the incredible work being done at CapMetro. So please join me for its premiere.
CapMetro Access is the ADA paratransit service here that we operate in Austin, Texas with Capital Metro. It's a really critical piece of public transportation. ADA paratransit's there as the safety net for folks who just can't, due to their disability, use the regular fixed route system. For the last 20 years, we've had one vendor, and we haven't really seen a lot of change or any really progression in how we can service our customers.
Some of the challenges we had prior to Spare would be that our dispatching process and scheduling, routing was all manual. And now with Spare, it's taken a lot out of our hands. The system finds the right spot for us, and it has real-time optimization.
With Spare, our riders have much more ease of access for our eligibility process. When they come through the eligibility process, we create a rider profile. All their information is uploaded into the Spare system, and they book their rides from there.
Our customers are able to book trips using the app. They can cancel trips using the app. It also sends them notifications updating their estimated arrival time of the vehicle. It brings an ease of not having to wait on hold.
It's more than just getting around. It's also connecting to the community. It's freedom.
It allows people to be able to be a productive citizen, be independent.
We did a lot of work closely with Spare, and not just software developers in a room, but actually the leadership of the company. They came here, they worked alongside us. They really helped us develop a really good product.
Working with the paratransit side of transportation is really special. Being able to rely on our service is very important to them and to us.
Our current goal is 92% on-time performance for our ADA paratransit service. We haven't always hit that, but we are now hitting that and exceeding that. I think we took that big leap so that we hopefully can get others to take that leap behind us, switch out the system that you've had forever, and go with something that actually is going to really move your system forward.
All right, Chad, I'll now hand it over to you to provide an overview to the audience on why CapMetro made the decision to transition to Spare, the implementation, launch process, as well as the results that you've seen since launching 2 months ago.
All right, great. Thanks for letting me have a chance to talk to everybody. It's pretty exciting here. And, I'm amongst paratransit colleagues and friends here, so I promise to be as open and honest about our experience and really just share with you our full experience. We're 67 days into our new system, and so far it's gone very well. But just giving some background, obviously for us, ADA Paratransit, and for all of you, ADA Paratransit it's just such a vital service. And so that means we just don't have a high tolerance for risk. And that was one of the big things when we were thinking about switching over from our old system, this legacy system we've had for 20 years, to a new system. We just didn't have tolerance for risk, and just the stakes were too high for us. So what we did, just as a little bit of a background, we went through several times. We did some site visits. For several years, we've been looking around to switch out of our old system. Site visits, we even did some expression of interest so that we could hear from software vendors over the years of, what's out there and what could possibly replace our old legacy system. We even put out RFPs a few times. I think it was our third RFP that finally we actually finished. We didn't cancel halfway through because we finally felt like we had a product that we could move forward with. And that's the Spare software that we're talking about today. It was a leap of faith for us, but it was a really good decision for us. It's been really good in the past for on-demand services. We knew that, but it was, ADA paratransit, again, very high bar. So there was a lot there that we really had to put our faith in them. And they committed from the top down, making sure that the ADA piece of this, they got right. So obviously some of the things that I don't think is really unique to us, what we were experiencing was just the rider experience. It's just not modern. I mean, most of us have been using Uber or Lyft or those kinds of things for years and years. And then, we've got these on-demand microtransit types of solutions that are also app-based. We've been using those for years, but honestly, ADA paratransit customers just have never been really been given the same type of services. It's always felt a little antiquated, and it's long overdue that we finally give them a much more modern system. So that was really probably one of the biggest pieces that drove us to making this decision. The eligibility process for us, we've done a lot of work getting our eligibility process pretty tight. It's an awesome process. I really believe in it. It's an in-person functional assessment. We just didn't have a system that really backed up the processes and really how to continue to track that. So this really allowed us to workflow that process and help us from doing a lot of workarounds. The dispatch, again, was very manual. There was, even when you had the automated features, you still had to go and manually adjust things so much that it really took a lot of time, and you're relying on humans to make a lot of decisions, which isn't always the best. And then for us, system upgrades, they've been a challenge. I think we always recoil in fear every time we knew we had to move forward with an upgrade, especially if we missed a year of our previous upgrades. It was always a bit of a struggle for us. So the implementation journey for us, we started out with eligibility, really working through, once we made the award, we started getting the eligibility piece put together. There was we built it basically from pretty bare bones to really flesh out a very robust system for tracking and running through eligibility. And then we had a lot of work to get the ADA compliance piece going. Because again, Spare is a really great on-demand software. It still had some work to do in order to get the ADA compliance and the FTA mandated regulations, because it's tricky. It's a lot more difficult than I think people understand when it comes to ADA paratransit. So we did a lot of work there, and Spare was with us the entire time. So that was a really great piece of it. Then once we got it all developed, there was a training of about 500 staff. That took a lot of effort and a lot of energy, but I would recommend doing that, thinking about that pretty early on, because it's a lot of coordination and everyone's going to get tired. Right before launch, that's when we did it. We tried to bring it up as close to launch as possible so that we wouldn't train people, then they'd go back to the old system and forget what they had just learned. So we did a launch. We'll show that here in a second. It went very well. And post-launch, I was actually really surprised. We were very nervous. Again, we don't have a lot of risk tolerance for ADA paratransit. So after launch, it actually went really well. I was incredibly surprised. We had the old system ready to go. We never turned it off. We were ready to flip the switch back to the old system if we needed to. But the team there was with us the entire way, and we actually have been able to get really good on-time performance. Just in the first month alone, we were able to finally hit our over 92% on-time performance for the first time in 18 months. And that was month one. So that was a little unexpected, but a pleasant surprise. So again, that launch week, here are a few pictures from that. It was great. Christopher, the whole team was here for weeks on end. They were here in the very early morning hours. They were here till the very late evening hours, tweaking, adjusting. Certainly things popped up that had to be figured out and adjusted on the fly, but having them here was a huge, huge help for us, and it made it go very smoothly. So we can talk more in the Q&A if we want to dive in a little bit more about some of the specifics. But what changed for us was, like I mentioned, the eligibility that really helped our process. When we went out to procure this software, we actually procured it with eligibility as being a potential option add-on. We weren't sure with this software or any software, because eligibility is so unique and a little bit of a one-off. It's almost like a doctor's office. So trying to get that type of software into an operations software was a pretty big jump. So we were always planning as our backup plan to not have that as part of the procurement and procure that off to the side and do a secondary integration. Luckily, we didn't have to do that, so that was great. And then the riders, obviously, it's changed a lot for us. We've just rolled out the rider app in December 1st, so 6 days ago. We phased a few things in because we wanted to make sure that we were ready. I don't know if it was totally necessary because it was all pretty intuitive, but we're, again, very risk averse. So we wanted to make sure that the rollout of the system happened. Then we rolled out the payment system, and then we rolled out the app. And then we'll be rolling out some of the smart SMS later. So we did it in phases just so that our staff could be prepared, but it's gone rather smoothly. Our dispatchers love it. It's a lot different. We no longer have schedulers. We have just service coordinators, so they kind of do everything. So that was a big change for them. They're really focusing on making sure that we get the vehicle operators signed up and getting off the lot. That's obviously nothing that Spare can control. I wish they could. That would be awesome. But that's what our folks can actually focus in on, is covering their shifts and all that kind of stuff, rather than worrying about a late trip in the next 30 minutes, a late trip in an hour, all those things, and manually moving things around. So it really did change a lot for them. And then the drivers, I was expecting a lot of pushback from our vehicle operators. Change isn't exciting for them. They don't love change. But I was expecting hearing a lot of energy. I was expecting a lot of that. So when I showed up to our divisions and sat there and listened to the drivers, I was really pleasantly surprised at how they were responding to it. And so it was good. It was intuitive. They were used to their old MDTs with the old system and hitting this button at that time and all the different things. But the new flow made more sense. It was a little more intuitive, and that made it a lot easier to get over the hump with them. And then obviously for management, it's great to have something that's web-based. My old system was very difficult to log in, very inaccessible. It didn't have a mobile platform. For the first time in my 20 years in ADA Paratransit, I can actually see a vehicle on the street, log into my phone, see where it is, what's going on with it, what the next pickup is, all that kind of stuff, full information just from my hand wherever I am. And that was a big deal for me too. And so, since I know that there are some ADA colleagues on here and operations folks, I think I wanted to also just mention some best practices and some lessons learned that I could go on this topic for a long time, but this is a really monumental change. If you consider doing this, obviously I think it goes without saying that it's a monumental change. This changes and it touches every piece of the operation. So it's a big change for not just our drivers or our frontline staff. It's for everybody. So what we did is we made sure we outlawed the phrase, but it's how we've always done it, because we heard that a lot. It was one of those things we had to get everyone to start thinking differently. Just because we had the old way of doing things, it was a big adjustment for us. I was surprised at how many workarounds we built into processes, just because that's how we've done things. And so it was really breaking down a lot of those different things. And I can talk details about those later, but that was a really big one. And then it's a great opportunity to make adjustments to how you do things. So the software does a lot that will dovetail into how you can change and adjust policies and procedures. So great time to adjust your eligibility process. If you want to go through policies, depending on the level of appetite your agency has for that kind of thing, this is a great time to do it. Fares great time to touch that. Service area, we streamlined our service area from tons of polygons and service area rules to a much more streamlined process. No shows, reshuffling dispatch and scheduling, how all that works. I mean, there's a ton of stuff you can do. So it's always a great time to also think through what your opportunities are if you do endeavor to go down this road. And then one other just side note, I wanted to point out that we were also really insistent that this be an accessible product. And we've achieved that with this, and not just for the customer. For us, it really means a lot to have an accessible product for our staff, because we really feel like it's important to hire folks that represent who we serve. And so that's a pretty awesome thing for us. Our old system was not accessible, screen reader and otherwise. And so this has been a big change. And so this allows us to actually go to our ridership and look toward them for hiring and filling in some positions. So that's an exciting element for me personally and for us that we took to heart. So I think that's all I've got. We can open up to questions. I've got plenty of other things, but we definitely would love to hear from y'all.
Great, thanks, guys. Chad, I mean, that's a great note to add in. Having people that represent who you're serving, I think that's a key factor, especially right now. We had the opportunity, I met you, Chad, and I think we met before previous, but we had talked at Expo about the program. And one thing I thought was really neat was that Spare was there 24 hours a day to help you guys. Could you guys talk a little bit more about kind of that initial process and how your two teams kind of meshed together?
Yeah, I was really surprised because when we knew there was some stuff that there were some tweaks and adjustments that had to be done for the software, and when we made the decision to go with this software, they committed, saying, we will be there for you. We're gonna work through this together, and we're gonna make this the best software ever. And I'll say I've been in this industry my entire adult life, and I think I can't tell you how many times I've heard that from software vendors. And so I was incredibly skeptical, but it was really impressive. When we got down to business, they were there nonstop, all the way to their senior technology officer. I mean, everybody was there, making adjustments on the fly, working with us, and making really smart decisions too. It was really great to have them sitting with us, at 3 a.m. when we started service. And they literally didn't leave until late in the night. I don't know when they even slept, but it was really great to have that kind of dedication. And even all the way up to, the leadership of the company, they never hesitated to have us reach out to them. And they resolved issues and things immediately. I was incredibly surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, Alex. I could jump in there too. I mean, Spare's approach to our partnerships is one of collaboration, and it sounds kind of cliche, but we are successful when our partners are successful. And how do you make a partner successful is you are with them every step of the way. You're constantly listening to them. You're constantly working together to solve problems, and you show up, right? You're not in some ivory tower off in 1,000 miles away. You're on the ground. You're there at 3, 4 a.m. You're the one talking with the supervisors, the one talking with the drivers, the ones on the vehicles, experiencing it. You're actually sitting in the dispatcher's chair, and you're the one, trying to correct an issue that might have happened with a trip or with a rider, and you are experiencing what they experience. You're understanding, their pain points, and that allows us to build a better product, a better experience, and to deliver on the promise that we make to our partners. So, we were extremely lucky to work with the amazing, talented, intelligent folks at CapMetro who have really provided so much value to us in terms of helping us figure out, what we need to build and what we need to do to improve. We're really excited to then take those learnings and to be able to bring them to others in the industry, and then also to be able to learn from those other partners too. And hopefully that will come full circle back to CapMetro and back to others, and we can all work together to improve transit for everyone.
Great. And Chad, you talked about a little bit about it at the beginning, and obviously you're kind of saving time for further questions and everything, and we've got a lot that came in. But can you talk a little bit about the criteria or the considerations CapMetro prioritized when selecting a technology provider for the paratransit service update? Because you said it's been a number of years that you've been looking at updating this system.
Yeah, it was a lot of trial and error too as we went through. I think when we started building the specs for the software years ago, I think we were looking to have a one-for-one replacement. So we were very specific. We needed it to do X, Y, and Z, and it was a very narrow scope of work that we had developed. We then sort of really got to sort of outcome-based functional specifications, which helped. We really, we didn't necessarily specify how they needed to get there, but we, specified how we needed to have, user-focused types of user interfaces and, what the outcome was for eligibility and how that should look in the end product. And so we left room for having vendors come and talk to how we get to that final point, which was a really big help. And it allowed us to kind of get over that hump of trying to think through what we think software needs to be and really listening. It challenged a lot of, our processes. Like I said, if anyone endeavors to go down this road, go at it with an open mind. It's not that it's bad, it's just different, and different is always a little bit of a struggle. So that was a really big piece for us when we wrote that scope. And so just getting it to the functional based outcomes, it was very, very interesting. And you could tell that they knew what they were talking about. Our IT folks in the room were very impressed with sort of their understanding of the problem and how to solve it.
Yeah, and were there noticeable changes in the industry that influenced the decision to modernize paratransits at this time? What do you feel now was the best time to do that?
I mean, I would have done this 15 years ago if there was something there. I've been waiting. We've had our legacy system we had it for over 20 years. And it looked exactly the same as the day I started when I was a young child in transit. So we've been wanting to get a better system. And, with the advent of smartphones, and as we started to see so much innovation happening around smartphones and transportation and all that, and it was just kept leaving ADA paratransit customers behind, I think we've been wanting this for a really long time. We just never felt like there was a viable option until now. So I would have done it years ago if I had the option.
Great. And then Quinn, can you talk a little bit about, Spare's been on the market for some time. You guys have started out, kind of introduced the idea of commingling and that sort of thing. Can you talk a little bit about how the technology evolved and how it got to the point where it can meet the needs of this CapMetro program? Absolutely.
It's actually crazy thinking back at just what the product looked like a year or 2 years or even 3 years ago. I remember when we wrote that commingling blog article and we kind of, coined the term in the industry. The product looked so different back then, and we have really worked really quickly to add so many features that have enabled us to get to where we are today and to enable CapMetro's success. But I'll try to be brief here. There's a couple of main things. So I think the first is scalability of the product. I think we want to ensure not only that we can handle the amount of trips you do daily or the max you do per year, but we want to ensure that we can do 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times that without any issues, without any glitches, without any slowness. So we've been put a lot of engineering and product resources into ensuring the platform is extremely robust. And if your ride volume quadrupled overnight, that there would be no issues. So that's one thing that we've obviously worked really hard on. Strict ADA compliance, obviously for paratransit, is so important. So we worked really closely with CapMetro and our other paratransit partners to ensure that we are abiding strictly by all of the regulations, by all of the interpretations of the ADA. A couple to point out: NTD reporting, solving the 30-minute pickup and drop-off window conundrum for appointment trips. There's a lot of really interesting innovations that we've worked on in the not so so recent past that we've been able to introduce on the ADA compliance front. Visibility into operations, amazing live map, a trip watch list, status dashboard, robust alerts, notifications for dispatchers. One other key thing I'll point out is manual intervention, right? And tools to complement spare engines or algorithms, automated scheduling and routing. So, the ability to lock trips to a specific vehicle, to force trips somewhere, to prevent riders and drivers from being matched, reversing no-shows, enforcing pickups, enforcing drop-offs, changing drop-off locations. The rider gets on the vehicle, they want to change where they're going. That happens all the time. You got to allow dispatchers to be able to make that change. So there are a lot of features that we've been able to build in partnership with CapMetro and others. And the product 2 years ago would not be able to deliver the success that we saw with the CapMetro launch.
Great, thanks. And one of the great things about transit is kind of feedback and being able to ask questions of each other. And we're going to get to that in just a second. I just had one last question for Quinn is can you talk a little bit about how the Spare algorithm works for the audience and give them just a brief explanation of how that operates so they have an understanding of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tricky one to explain, especially briefly, because it's so complicated on the back end. But I'll try to point to a few core elements of Spare Engine and how it works, because we get asked about it all the time. It makes perfect sense. It's the core of the product. It makes the decisions on when trips are scheduled, on what vehicle, what other trips are pooled with them. So I've got actually a couple of slides here that I can quickly jump into as well. So, number one, Spare Engine does leverage all of the new sort of AI technology and tooling that, you see in the industry today. And we have it baked into many other parts of the product too. But some of the key features of Spare Engine are optimization features. So the first is we optimize when you create a trip. So when you actually go to create that trip, the system looks at that trip and looks at all the other trips and all of your runs and all of your manifests, and it figures out, actually, is there a better allocation now? Should I move trips around between manifests to fit this new trip in? Then there's event-triggered optimization. So if you cancel a trip, or if someone no-shows, or you cancel a run, someone called in sick and you can't replace them, or you shorten a run, or you elongate it, that change in the system, then we need to re-optimize. We need to figure out, now that we have this extra run or we're missing a run, does this still make sense, the status quo? Or should we move things around automatically in the background? So that's one of the second key features. And then real-time lateness optimization. So, if a trip's starting to get late, and there's an opportunity to make it not late, to push it within its on-time performance window, the system should just do that automatically. Why are we asking humans to go and click on a late trip and be staring at a screen and then move that and then figure out where to put that? The system should know exactly where that should go. And then we also, that's the real-time lateness. And then global optimization of live runs as well. So every 5 minutes, looking at all of the live runs and moving things around, that is extremely important. We need to ensure that we are constantly reevaluating the state of the system, and we're shuffling trips around to make sure they're on time and they're in the middle of their windows as much as possible. And then at the end, we have the optimization of future runs. So we want to make sure that the manifests tomorrow are as optimal as the manifests today, and making sure that we're not just doing optimization day of, but every time you book a trip and every hour in the future, it's reevaluating and it's making sure the manifests are as optimal as possible. So there's so much more that makes up Spare Engine that I could speak to, but I hope that at least gives you a quick overview and an idea of how it's able to achieve such incredible results.
Great, thanks. I'm sure that'll help the audience quite a bit. And just a reminder to ask the questions that you guys have. We're going to get to those. I mean, it's overwhelming the amount of questions that have come in. It's great. People have a lot of thoughts about this. So let's start first with I guess maybe the most relevant question. If you already have a paratransit application, does this replace or does it work with it?
I can maybe speak to our implementation approach. I mean, I think in terms of at least transitioning between different solutions, we found the best approach that kind of de-risks the most is to not run two systems in parallel. Obviously, if they're complementary systems, Spare has an open API. We integrate with tons of solutions and fleet providers and eligibility, like third-party eligibility management systems and third-party analytics tools. So there's lots of other third-party software that is integrated into Spare and complements Spare. But in terms of two sort of dispatch or mobility softwares, when we look at how to implement them in the best approach, we found that a kind of clean cut and moving one to the other is generally the best approach versus trying to run sort of two similar systems in parallel. But I'd love to hear Chad's opinion on this as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the app that we have is ideal. I mean, it really is streamlined and easy, and it just solves a lot of everything that we really need. So simplifying is better, in our opinion.
Great. And you mentioned at the beginning, you had your backups, or you had your previous system ready with, kind of your finger on the button there to just in case something went wrong. This question came in that, did you catch any of your staff going back to the old system during the transition? And did you find out why they did that?
Yeah, we kept it live for a while, in case we had to go back to it. But we also kept it live in case we wanted to do some sanity checks on the information that was in the new system versus the old system. One of our lessons learned, and I advise everyone, is if you have an old legacy system that you've had for 20 years, make sure you clean your data really well before you port it into the new system. That was one of the things that we didn't do a great job when we handed the data back over to Spare. But we were able to, so we left it open so that we could validate, small pieces of information. But beyond that, we've already, before the month was over, we were already assigned the papers to go ahead and shut the system down, or archive it, which is pretty impressive. But we were expecting to keep it running for 6 months, but really nobody had any interest in going back to the old system. Right.
And we talked in Expo, and by the way, this article is online on metro.com or metromagazine.com. There's a little conversation that we had, me, you, and Chris, Chad, about the system. And one of the things we talked about is kind of these, not new starts, but kind of these startups, companies that are coming into the industry. How did you convince your decision makers to invest in this new system, given, there was kind of maybe a little off kilter with what transit typically does?
Yeah, we from day one, I always said we are ready to go back to the old system as soon as anything goes wrong. If anything goes sideways, we're gonna default back to this old system. So we made sure that we were keeping track of everything in the old system as well, because it was new and we're very risk averse, like I said. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of innovation, and it's a pretty awesome time to be in the industry now, finally. Yeah, there was a lot of talking to folks and just reassuring that here's our backup plan if this doesn't go well. But as we started getting through the implementation, the design and setup of the system, we got more and more confident. By the time we launched, we were in great shape. We decided to even do a complete clean cutover the night before, turning off the system. We actually, day before, stopped taking reservations in the old system, start taking in the new system, and then go full bore 100% in the new system on the next day. So it was great. It was surprising.
And obviously the customer is kind of king in this process. What were some of the most effective ways you communicated the change with them, and what would you do differently if you had to do that again? Or, how much did you communicate to them that there was going to be a change on the back end there?
We started talking with them for a long time. I mean, in general, during our advisory committee meetings and public meetings that we have on a regular basis, we always got complaints about the old system. And so for years, we had been saying, we're working on getting a new system. We swear it's going to happen. We're doing it. So we were constantly updating them on that. We also put up a website. It's still up on CapMetro's on our website. We put a page up for just giving updates on where the system is, current status of it. So we would share that with folks, and also bringing people in to test. Whether we really needed them to test in their feedback or not, it was really great to just bring them in, to get them engaged and to really get some buy-in on that. A lot of our community members are vocal, so we wanted our most vocal people to get in here and play with the system, talk with them. I would say that you can never over communicate, though, for sure. Some people are always surprised when you put in a new system, no matter how much you communicate, but most of them didn't really notice a difference. They were just pleasantly surprised that we were about to roll out an app. That was the big news, is that when we rolled out this app, people were pretty excited about that because that was new for us.
Right. And just to give you a second to breathe there, I just want to remind everybody, if you have a question, feel free to put them in there, and we'll get to them either in this program or after the program is concluded. So you touched on a little bit about how surprised you were of hitting your on-time percentage so early. Can you talk a little bit about how productivity, has been, since the implementation?
Productivity has been pretty good. What we did, just to also make sure that we had that we were running things safely, we added extra service just so that we had as much service out there as possible, just in case things didn't go well. They ended up going well, so we didn't really need all that extra service that we put out there. So productivity has been just about as good as we had before. Actually, I would say it's about the same now, but with much higher on-time performance. And so usually with on-time performance, you lose productivity and vice versa. So it was nice to be able to not lose productivity, but also increase on-time performance. So that was a big thing for us. We were, a little nervous because this was, we run a little bit more service than some of their other ADA Paratransit customers. We were on track. I think we had bid this out as we anticipated pre-pandemic that we'd be around 1 million customers trips per year. So we're not there because of the pandemic, but we were excited to see also that it could handle that kind of volume. I think I saw a question about that. I wanted to put that out there, as well as one other thing I didn't mention earlier is we don't do overflow here. So that is one of those things that's for a lot of software companies. It's a pressure relief valve, if you will, really. So we really force Spare to not only not have the overflow, the third party TNC overflow. We force them to make sure that all the trips could be scheduled on our own services. There are directly contracted service provider, and they only do ADA Paratransit for this particular area. We do have an on-demand circulator, but we didn't integrate them. So we really were kind of a pain in the rear, and I'll admit it. We asked a lot of Spare. We didn't give them any outs like the transition and, send trips over to the on-demand or send trips to a TNC or to a taxi or any of that. We really forced them to build this with the entire, all of the trips within that one environment. So that was another area that I was impressed with.
Great. Sure.
Oh, sorry, Alex. And maybe just to add a bit to Chad's comments as well. And Chad's correct in saying that on-time performance and productivity are so interlinked. Sometimes, you push one up, the other one goes down, and vice versa. And so it's really trying to hit that sweet spot in the middle of high on-time performance and good productivity. And I think, something that at Spare we're really focused on is finding that sweet spot and giving our partners the tools to be able to figure out what that sweet spot is. Where can they maybe remove some runs to boost the productivity without, taking too big of a hit on the on-time performance, especially as demand fluctuates. And, Chad mentioned not having that overflow option. So, many of our services we do. We have integrations with Uber and Lyft and MTI Dispatch, different taxi providers, and different agencies do ADA paratransit in different ways. But our number one focus is always on first optimize the dedicated vehicles, right? Making sure that the dedicated fleet is as optimal as possible, and then from there look at the non-dedicated, the overflow, because you're always going to need to ensure that you have that strong dedicated component.
Right. And the next question I have is kind of a two-part question, one for Chad and one for you, Quinn. First, what would you say is the biggest hurdle with Spare when launching, Chad?
The biggest hurdle, I think just getting people to think differently. There's so many workarounds we were so used to doing. And so it was changing the culture, changing the language. We even had a spare jar so that if you use the lingo from the last service provider, you were supposed to fess up and put the word in there of the old software system just to make it fun. But yeah, it was just changing that the culture, and it wasn't that hard, I will say, because it was just a lot more intuitive. So it was kind of an easy win for us on that front.
Yeah, and from your perspective, Quinn, I mean, can you talk a little bit about how you worked with CapMetro in solving some of those hiccups at the beginning, and how you continue to work with them now after a couple months after launch?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it obviously starts with an extremely comprehensive, robust, methodical implementation process, right? Where you go through all of the different facets of how the service works, and you translate those into the configuration in the product. And then you do extremely robust testing across all different user types and all different workflows. And then you ensure that, every single person is trained as much as possible and gets their hands on the product and gets to utilize it ahead of launch. And throughout that process, you make a lot of discoveries, a lot of learnings, a lot of problems come up and that you have to work collaboratively to find solutions for. And we'll bring in our experts from the Spare side on our product team, or engineering, or data science, and even communications, our marketing team, and we'll work with the CapMetro team to solve those problems. But obviously, inevitably, you get to launch day and there are problems that crop up that you never foresaw. And I think that's why showing up, being on the ground is so important. As Chad mentioned, I personally was in Austin for like 4 weeks. It was great. It was beautiful weather in September, so it was a great time to be in Austin, and I really enjoyed it. And we had all of our 3 co-founders down there. We had our senior product manager. We had senior engineers. We had plenty of customer success staff, all on the ground there for lots of time. And we were there, to see all the issues, to basically like solve them in real time, or as close to real time as possible. I've honestly, even at Spare, never seen something quite like it, where you have like just engineering teams just whipping together little tweaks to the product and little new features that just seem like they're kind of small, but really solve a core problem that happens often, and being able to push those really quickly out, get feedback, maybe make a couple adjustments to them, and then you have that solution out there, and then just kind of you're kind of smoothing out the bumps from there.
Yeah, again, from an outsider perspective, that all boots on the ground kind of mentality that you guys had on this project, I really enjoy that. I don't know why I like that so much, but that's fantastic that like everybody from your team and the teams collaborated, everyone was involved, and I think that's really great, and I'm sure that alleviated some of that stress for you and the team there, Chad.
Mm-hmm, good.
So would CapMetro be willing to share their outcomes-based specifications to help guide Spare to build their paratransit product?
Yes, I think that would be, we're always happy to share anything and everything. We'll share, all of our stuff. We love to help other transit agencies, stand on our shoulders and do even better than we did. So yeah, anything like that, the specs, we would be happy to share, and anything else.
Great. And does Spare integrate with a call center solution?
It's a great question. So we have a robust set of sort of call center features baked into the product. We also have our own AI-powered IVR feature as well that complements many call center solutions. Currently today, we don't have direct integrations with like an actual sort of phone system, for instance, although you can, we do have phone and voice features within the product, but like with any third-party solution, and feel free to check out our website and our open API that's been on our website for over half a decade now. We are open to integrating with any sort of solution, and we really see a lot of value in having an API that can integrate with third-party solutions. So I think integrating with a call center solution could be super interesting. We'd love to explore that opportunity.
Great. And the next question, will the Spare engine move things around while there's already a rider on a vehicle in order to optimize a late pickup?
Yes. So it won't obviously, move an in-progress trip off a vehicle where the actual rider's already on the vehicle. It won't do that. So there are some safeguards in there that will lock things in place. But an active vehicle, it will definitely move trips off. So here's a common scenario is you have maybe one vehicle and they maybe took too long with the client, maybe no fault of the driver. The client took a little too long to get out of the door, or they had trouble getting them to the vehicle and strapping them in, or whatever it might be. And now they're running behind because they had kind of a packed manifest. Then you have another vehicle and maybe they had a cancellation, then they had a no-show. They've got a big gap. So, you have this one driver running behind maybe by 30 minutes, and another driver who has next hour where they have no trips. And so that's where Spare Engine will go in and will remove trips from the manifest of the driver running late, move them onto that driver that's available. And then the driver that was once running late has time to catch up. The trips down their manifest are no longer late. And the other driver gets that trip and can complete it on time.
Okay. Great. And the next question, how easy or hard was the transfer of data?
Chad?
It's not hard if you get it cleaned up first, but for us, it wasn't that difficult. We just assumed our data was clean and handed it over. But I don't think it was all that difficult, really.
Yeah, I think, migrating data is only as challenging as the state of the data is, essentially, right? So, if you have very clean and well-structured data, and it should be relatively easy. But, I think what many agencies have is databases that have been built up over decades, and for any sort of system like that, when you have a database that's been around for decades, it just, there are parts of it that get out of date and that need cleaning up, and it's just kind of a natural part of database management. I think there is a lot of opportunity for us to improve our data migration processes, but I think on the whole, I think it did go pretty smoothly, and we learned a lot. And I think going forward, we'll be able to apply those learnings to other implementations too.
Yeah, and we also had to make sure that we were, that there was a place for the data to go. So we have, conditional eligibility. We have a lot of mobility aids and space types and all those other types of things. And so we did have to just make sure there was a landing spot for all of those pieces. But that's all just, building out the system. So that was really the only thing that we had to really think through. And that was a great opportunity for us to kind of rethink, do we like how we do space types? Maybe we need to think about maybe adjusting them, because this has always annoyed us, like service animals. Maybe we're doing that wrong, and maybe we need to adjust how we do that. So, but yeah, it was, after we made those decisions, it wasn't too difficult.
Yeah. So it's a lot like moving. You decide, do I really want this still, or can I let this go?
Yeah, there was a lot of letting go. We had to let go, and it was nice to purge a lot of old processes and data.
Great. And this next question, it's typically a kind of question that I would ask. What are the next steps in the evolution of your service? Did I hear correctly that you're rolling out features such as payment in phases? And what is still not complete in your installation?
Yeah, so we did roll out, we rolled out payments just a month later. So that is already rolled out, and we just rolled out the app, the customer app. So that is already rolled out. I think we'll just be doing some cool smart SMS and some other fun newer things that are just, as they're developing and coming up with new cool features. That's kind of what we're looking at, is all the cool stuff now out there. And now we're getting to the fun, the icing on the cake, and not the critical required things.
Okay. Great. We have a few more minutes, so let's just get to a couple more questions here. For Spare, what is the process and timeline between getting feedback from your client or end users to make changes to the product itself?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think, first of all, when we get feedback from our partners, it goes directly to our product team. There's no middleman. And on the customer success side, so each of our partners has a dedicated partner success manager, and they're the face of Spare to our partner, and they have frequent calls with them. They respond to emails, and they're hearing product feedback every week, essentially, from those partners. And then we also have weekly calls with our product team. So those partner success managers have the opportunity to grill our product managers on, our partner, gave us this feedback, like we should really build this. This is a huge pain point. And so there's a really, really tight communication loop between our customers and partners and the partner success team, as well as the product team. And also our product team will speak directly to our partners, and they'll speak directly to users. They were on the ground there with CapMetro. And so we'll even take a couple links out of that chain, and we'll have them go and talk to riders in the rider advisory committee, or go ride on a vehicle and talk to a driver. And they're the ones that are kind of setting the priorities of what we build at Spare. So we try to keep them as close to the users as possible, which is a big key. And then in terms of how the product team decides on what to build, I mean, that's a little bit more of a complicated process. There are a lot of factors that go into that, how much value it's going to provide. Is it something that is applicable across a bunch of different use cases, or is it a very specific feature for one specific use case, one specific use? They're kind of made on a case-by-case basis, but at the end of the day, we're about maximizing value to the end user, and maximizing the achievement of our partners' objectives, be it productivity, on-time performance, or rider experience, or what have you. So we really take that frame of, how do we maximize our partners' objectives, get them to achieve their objectives and their definition of success, and then how do we ensure leading edge user experiences. So in terms of some features, it could be a couple of hours, and then which literally happens, and then some it can be obviously much longer than that. But we at Spare we constantly making improvements daily to the product, essentially. So this isn't something that we just wait to do once a year. This is something that we literally do every day.
Okay, great, thanks. And it's hard to kind of end this. There's so many questions and that have come in, and again, we'll get to your questions after the program if they weren't addressed here. So kind of the last question I have is, for Chad, what are some of the key performance indicators or success metrics your team uses to demonstrate the impact of the upgrade?
Yeah, I think, we use all the standard KPIs that we've always used, the industry standards of, OTP and productivity and all of those types of things. One of the things we're really most excited about is the app being able to rate the customer being able to directly rate every single trip rather than waiting for customer complaints to come in and assuming that those 5 customers are speaking for everybody else when they call in a complaint. Now we'll get a much more uniform, a lot more customers giving their true, honest feedback at the time. That's going to be one of those things that will I'm excited about, because I think that that's going to let us dig in and we'll see issues right away rather than waiting until we go through the whole customer complaint loop. So that immediate feedback is going to be a pretty big deal for us. We're excited about it.
Great. Thanks, guys. That's all the time we have for today. But for anyone who asked a question again that wasn't answered, we will be following up via email to answer your questions individually. We hope that you enjoyed today's webinar. I want to again thank Chad, Quinn, and Spare for today's presentation. I also want to mention that this webinar will be available on demand on the Metro Magazine website at metro-magazine.com/webinars. Thank you and have a great day and a happy holiday.
Thanks so much, everyone.